Good evening and welcome to this Recreation and Amenities Committee meeting on the 21st of November. This meeting's being recorded for publication on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. Madam Clerk, apologies for absence.
Apologies received from Councillor Steve Ardar-Walter and Councillor Richard Foster, appointed as substitute.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest, anyone?
Very interesting fact.
Thank you very much. So minutes for the 22nd of August and the 10th of October. Yeah.
Proposed, Chairman.
Thank you.
I'll be very happy to second just one. If you look at item, well, the first resolution on the second page,
Thank you. So have all in favour of the. Yeah. Thank you very much. Matters arising therefrom. Yeah.
Nothing from me.
Okay, income and expenditure to receive a note on the budget.
Nothing to bring to members' attention, Chairman, but happy to answer any questions as we go through.
Okay, thank you. Anybody has any comments? Councillor Cole.
Just one question, if I may, Chair. Page 9. Plans. Inspection contract. 467. 4067 on the play areas.
Yeah.
fourth line up.
Yeah.
Yeah, come here.
Seems to be 2,500 over budget.
I think there could have been an error budgeting, because if you have a look at the actual from last financial year, was nearly 20,000, but only budgeted at 17,800 for this year. So I think if you compare the actual from last year with the projected for this year, they would be on par with a small inflationary increase. So I'm afraid that looks like it was an under budget during preparation, I'm afraid.
Chairman, while we're on that item, is this an appropriate place just to make the remark that I know people have investigated whether or not it's going from weekly and safely and appropriately to bi-weekly inspections. Is that accommodated within here, or is that a potential genuine saving that could be made?
The projected is based on the current weekly inspections. So,
Right.
and we are obtaining advice and quotes on fortnightly.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Jeffrey. Any other
We shoot down to the bottom. This is where the
big numbers are?
yes.
Councillor Cole.
Sorry, Chair. One more question, just Madam Clerk. I know the question of rates that West Berkshire suddenly decided they were going to charge this year on the cemetery, 8,000 odd. It's the subject of discussion, or is going to be the subject of discussion at West Berkshire. I wonder if either you or any of the West Berkshire councillors know anything about that, and hopefully that West Berkshire will decide that, as it wasn't in our budget and they suddenly started whacking on us, that they are going to change their mind.
So, do we know anything about that, gents?
It will be investigated.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cotton. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay, yeah. We have a proposal for those? Do we need a proposal for them?
Just to note them.
Oh, we
yes,
just
please.
noting, okay, fair enough. So item 6, detached youth work to receive and note a report from RMD Adventure Learning.
Having seen the presentation on this on 6I, messages sent to us, it seems like there's a joint venture now between RMD, Berkshire Youth and Thatcham Youth. Is that the case? Because I wasn't aware of it.
That was just for the summer programme. So our detached service that we contract RMD for, that hasn't changed. But West Berkshire Council receive funding from central government to lay on holiday activity programmes. And we did one at Easter with the other organisations, and another one during the summer. So that's when we work in partnership with Thatcham Youth, RMD and Berkshire Youth to lay on those programmes. So that's in addition to our standard contract.
Great, that's good news, thank you. I'm just a little confused by all the labels over there, or maybe the working circumstances have changed, Chairman. We have the up to summer. When do you think we might expect to see the September, October? Will that be the next meeting, Joan?
Yes, yeah, they did apologise. That they didn't have the data up to date till October, but that will definitely be on the next report.
May I just suggest that, as we have done in the past, perhaps we could have a Zoom meeting with them at some point, just to run through things and.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. It's great to see the reports, but yeah, somehow they feel a little bit more detached than we like them to be. Probably.
We'll ask the town clerk if she may. I mean, it could be actually people meeting around the table, which I actually prefer. But I mean, I know they're very, very busy, and actually their evenings are taking up a lot. So I would have quite been to set up for a Zoom. But I feel, as you say, it's good to see these how this is going forward. I'm very proud of what we've done because, quite frankly, I think somebody was discussing this just recently. Is that I think West Berkshire District Council spends like 1% of their budget on actual youth outreach youth working, and that's why we've had to take it up. So I think this is making great progress, and it would be nice to at some point do a proper review of where we are and where we want to go from in the future.
Okay, thank you. Yes, yes, we'll definitely organise that. Thank you. So item 7, boiler replacement at Burdwood Community Centre.
Chair, I've got 2 hands here.
Councillor Field, I'm sorry.
I apologise for being slightly late in my offering of my palm. Just a really quick question. I'm just wondering, is it possible to request the numbers of young people engaged over the period? Is it possible for them, and I realise it may be complicated and not ultimately worth it, to just break down to about unique engagements? Because there's 105 engagements, but if there's a consistent number turning up every month, it might be actually only 41 engagements, unique engagements, if you see what I mean.
Yes, yeah.
Not only will that give us the breadth of coverage, but also an idea of maybe the consistency and regular contact with young people. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's difficult from these figures to tell how many are regulars and how many new
that
people are
is
coming on
valuable
board.
information as
Yeah.
well, and worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, and a meeting would help this, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they could provide a little bit more information if
Yes,
we can
if
get
it's-
them onto a.
Yeah, I want to take it all their life,
Yeah.
trivial numbers, but it could be useful.
Thank you. Any more on RMD before we move on? Great, okay, so item 7, boiler replacement with Burdwood. This is one of a number of items where I think we're ratifying, having had to make some decisions at a time when we were missing a meeting because of national events. Madam Clerk, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, only to say that unfortunately you'll see from the agenda there that we weren't actually able to proceed with the electric boiler in the end, which is disappointing because I don't know anything about electrics, but apparently we have a 1-phase supply and we needed a 3-phase supply to have an electric boiler. And with time pressing, we had to go with the gas, I'm afraid. But we have got work underway to be prepared for the next boiler that may break down, to be more environmentally friendly.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cotton.
Yes, putting that technical hat on here, yeah, basically you have about 30 to 40 amps available on each phase. These electric boilers consume a huge amount of power, and you would need to have it across 2 phases at least. So you have red, yellow, green supplying. So yes, I think you're quite right. We need to do a review on what other major boilers we have, and is there electricity supply available? Because it's not going to be cheap to lay a new. You're going to have to go to the mains cables in the road. And actually, it would be a long job and it would be expensive. So it's something that we should look at planning, getting costings and planning ahead to see when and how we would do it. I mean, we could even be proactive and actually put the power cabling in as one item and then looking to when the boiler needs replacing. We could do that because it wouldn't happen quickly. So when the boiler goes, you need to respond really quite quickly. Would be my suggestion. That we come maybe through you that the town clerk comes back with some kind of costing on what would it cost to put this extra power.
Okay, thank you. So, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, I mean, it's great that we have multiple sources of expertise around the table, and I think the important thing is to come up with the right solution. And if we can, as you say, often these things have to be done very rapidly, but
as long as we're not phased by it.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Mr. Chairman, particularly after that last comment, I think it says committees asked to ratify expenditure of 3,090 from the Road Capital Fund. I so propose that we do indeed ratify it.
Thank you. And the seconder, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So item 8, Clear Channel bus shelter contract update.
Mr. Chairman, I just come in with a point of, these really a point of order. And that is, if you go to page 4, item 3, it says confidentiality 3.1. Terms and conditions of this deed shall not be disclosed to any third parties without the permission of third parties unless other requirements of the law. Do we need to go into part 2 to actually conduct this piece of business?
That's a good question, Madam Clerk.
I wouldn't say so. Contracts that the town council enter into are public information. And this is an existing contract that we already have with Clear Channel. It's just a deed of amendment. So I don't believe we need to, no.
It's our terms and conditions, it's not theirs.
In any case, we've already disclosed for clause 3.1.
Fair enough.
Oh,
We'll soldier on. Okay, so,
so we could consider some.
I'm happy to introduce this
yes,
one,
please,
Chairman.
please do, yeah.
So the town council has an existing, as I say, contract with Clear Channel, and it's been in place for many, many years. They provide several of our bus shelters, particularly the ones with the advertising boards on them. The contract expired 2 or 3 years ago and has been on a rolling month-by-month contract since then. Clear Channel now want to sort the paperwork out and enter into a new agreement. The only difference that there is that there's no change in monetary at all. It's never cost us anything for them. They generate the revenue from the advertising boards, and in exchange they maintain them. All that will happen here is that will be covered now by a paper trail, which there isn't at the moment. So they are proposing that they will invoice us for advertising rights, for maintenance, and we invoice them exactly the same amount for advertising rights. It's how it was happening anyway, but it will just be formalised in a paper trail now, and that's really the only difference to the current contract. So our recommendation as officers would be to enter into this new agreement, which will run till 2027.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions on that, Councillor Potter?
yes, I do remember when we looked at this years ago, before the pandemic, where they seemed to be faltering whether they wanted to continue. Is that it's my memory not as clear as it used to be and they were in doubt. Obviously, because advertising is changing to online, and in fact we used to supply components into these rotating signboards. So it looks like they've changed their mind and are carrying on. I think it's a good deal. I mean, we both benefit. We basically get our bus shelters at repaired and maintained at no cost. And we're not. I don't think we really want to get into commercial advertising and try and run with this ourselves. So they're obviously probably getting quite a good benefit, but I think in return we're getting a good deal. So just like to hear other councillors' comments.
See that way, Councillor Field.
If my memory serves me right, I think there was a discussion about what do you do because they've got something different. Could we collaborate with them? I think that was the conversation I remember 3 years ago. But
no, so on that basis, unless there's a lot of reluctance, I'd like to propose that we continue with this amendment. Or
Thank you.
deed of variation.
Is that your second? Thank you. All those in favour? That's great. Thank you.
yes, I want to be nominated. Simon Singh.
Yeah, do we have to?
Yes, please.
Okay, so could we have?
Perhaps chairman and vice chairman.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just we asked them to request to delete that phrase about not being public and not sign it as is. All I would say.
Because I have to come back to another meeting.
Yes, but I take your point, Councillor Field. I think seriously, as the town clerk said, we have to be open. Unless there's, I mean, if there were some suggestions, they might have some kind of justification.
If it was,
May I just ask that we raise the point, and then as we're going to be signing it together, we can discuss that.
yes, there's no harm
And
in
if the
raising it.
committee allows us to leave it to us to sign.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it was a commercially competitive situation, that would be different. Yeah.
Exactly. That would make me feel much better. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So moving on to the Environmental Working Party, and this is split into 3 parts. First part is just to receive and consider adoption of the minutes from the 28th of September. Thank you, second. Thank you, Councillor Foster. All those in favour? Thank you very much.
Just one question, where are we with the thermal imaging camera?
Do we?
It's is it in process?
Um,
Because we were looking at this thermal
We were,
Imaging
yeah, yeah.
camera to make sure that basically houses were as insulated as well as possible. We have a list of properties that aren't, and I think we were going to look at trying to offer these people free of charge service of going back to them and saying that. But
Okay,
if you just turn a report.
that's it. That's where we're at with the camera.
so Councillor Pike.
That's what I had, but
Okay,
So is it with Councillor Pike still?
I don't think it is,
It's
but-
not, no.
look, I thought I had updated, but I can't remember it specifically before the date of that meeting.
so it's in hand.
Yeah,
It's in hand.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's-
know, but I honestly can't.
It's only been going for 3 years, so I mean, why rush?
Well, it's still a good idea. It was 3 years
It
ago.
will get there, and especially with energy prices skyrocketing, I think it's actually a more,
So we have got,
a really better reason for actually going ahead.
we have got a number of things which pointed to take a temperature at a single location, which were very kindly offered at a very favourable price by Lidl. But that's not a camera. The advantage of those is that they're cheap enough that you need to be, you can lend them out more easily than that.
Understood, I know we discussed that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So item 2, at the meeting of the 22nd of August, it was resolved that the Environmental Working Party's recommendation of a biodiversity action plan, the commission at a cost of 3,500, and that was pushed back by the RNA at the time to come up with a more or a smaller scale project, and we see in the notes there that that doesn't look like to be a very good value for money proposition, but we do have a number of representatives of the Working Party here. So,
I defer to Councillor Foster.
Councillor
Well, if you'd
Foster,
like me just to,
yeah,
I'm sure most-
if you could give us a little bit more information on that and background, that would be great. Thank you.
I'll certainly give you the background, although I'm sure most councillors are aware of it. We have an environmental action plan which is published and is on the website for the public to see. Mostly it's about what we should do about reducing carbon emissions and how we should help the community to do that, because it's largely in response to the climate emergency that was declared in 2019. But when writing it, we were also very aware that global heating is not the only problem that we're facing on this planet, that we're in the middle of a mass extinction of species, and that in order to do something about that, we also need to consider what we can do as a council to encourage the preservation of species of all types of living creature or plant. So we have in the plan a biodiversity section, and it's section 5, and the first 3 items on it are: 1, to map, visit and appraise the natural habitats under this council's control; 2, put a vegetation policy in place; and 3, manage our natural assets for the benefit of all natural species. So those things are in the plan, and what we're trying to do here is to honour our commitment in that plan. With the help of officers, officers have been out to organisations that might look at our natural habitats. In fact, we had a conservation organisation in the spring that gave a quotation that was well above what you see here. It was of the order of £9,000 to £10,000. We pushed back on that and asked for an alternative, and so this quotation for £3,500 came up as an alternative. At the last RNA meeting, you asked whether we could just limit even that to one site. And as the notes here say, that's not really cost effective because we get a ruling on that one site, but it doesn't tell us anything about the other 6 that the council has. So our view is that in order to discharge the commitment that we made, and by the way, I should say that, you know, one of the considerations was whether we could do this ourselves, but knowing the constraints on officers' time, given all the other things they're having to do, we do not want to ask them to do any of this work. So we feel that 3,500 to survey these 7 sites and give us a recommendation on how we might be able to make them more biodiverse is money well spent. The one point I suppose I would make is that much of this area, I think, is mown grass, and there probably is a very limited amount you can do with mown grass. But what I would like to see is any suggestions about whether we can use some of this land without mowing it, and then, you know, encourage more biodiversity, because it's well known that grass is not a biodiverse habitat. So that's what we're really looking at, whether we could, you know, actually do better than just mow it. So I would propose that this this quotation for £3,500 plus VAT, so that's 4,200 actually, is accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Cobb.
A little bit tangential to the proposal, Chair, so I do apologise, but it's always struck me as amazing that we carry on mowing an enormous amount of area of grass in the cemetery, which is designated for graves in 10, 15 years' time. So it's a just because it's mown at the moment, we can actually do something a lot more environmentally friendly than just, as you say, close crop grass.
Yes, and the cemetery would be included as one of those sites within the plan. Councillor
Chairman,
Cobb.
yes, I fully agree with Councillor Foster. I believe, you know, we're talking about Dunstan Park, Dunstan Green, Cemetery, Siege Cross, Kenneth, Heath, put my teeth back in, and the Moors and Pound Lane. And knowing those sites as I do, I think there must be some room, even in plain field areas, that we can put bigger borders around, which we can try and plant up. As my councillors on my side whispered in my ear, maybe we could look for some kind of meadow type effect, because I think they're in short supply. So we've got dampness for some of these water meadows. I think we could probably find our own. So I think we don't know what we don't know. I think putting some comments in here from ourselves, like these, to them and give them a little bit of direction, and saying the comments that you've just both yourself and Richard have said, is that we should give them some guidance and say, right, okay, we'd like to see, okay, this is a playing field around the area. What can you do? You know, and just give them some help. Is that on?
Okay,
On that basis, I'd second it.
thank you. Okay.
I seem to think that the northwest of Thatcham may have been missed off potentially. We've got the Tullway development completed, and there's quite a large open space of grass, and the chap comes in and literally side of it, pretty well mowing it down. You know, I just wondered if that could be identified as an additional meadow area.
Can I ask, Councillor Foster, is there an incremental cost to adding further sites?
I suspect there is. I mean, officers will know, but I know that the company visited these sites and given their proposal based on what they've seen. So I suspect that they would charge more, but it can be, they can be asked.
Madam Clerk.
This is only based on town council land. That piece of land isn't owned by the town
Okay,
council.
okay,
Maybe
well, that's an
managed,
important distinction,
by
I
the
think.
developer then
Yeah.
under a service agreement. Withdrawn, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? does seem as if we push this back and we prove that really what we've got is quite a good deal
Well, we're
here.
looking for value for money,
Yeah.
won't we, Chair?
Yes,
And I
indeed.
think we've now got it.
Councillor Field.
No, I mean.
Yeah,
You're-
we're voting for it.
Chair,
let's do it.
Yes.
I'll vote on number one.
Okay.
Well,
So-
Straining
Your
that
second,
leash.
right, okay, all those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. And item or part 3 of number 9, to receive and consider adoption of our carbon footprint report, which Councillor Lister has prepared for us.
Sure, Councillor Foster will be happy to speak on this as well.
Councillor Foster, could you give us a few words on this one?
I can certainly tell you the background again, which is that within the environmental plan, there is an element of what the council is doing to improve its own carbon footprint, in leading the way to encourage the rest of the community to improve theirs. And what this is Councillor Lister's assessment of where we are since when 2019 in reducing our own carbon footprint for the council. And actually what it showed up was that most of our carbon footprint is in electricity usage. And a lot of that, I think the highest amount of that was what's used by the market in running
and the broadway
stores. So we'll look at that, but otherwise it's an interim report essentially showing how we're managing to reduce our emissions.
Well, our thanks to Councillor Lister
Yes,
for preparing this
Chairman,
one.
I just never failed to be impressed by Councillor Lister's work. Going from planning for the 2,500 now, because of, I quite frankly believe the pressure from this town council is now down to 1,500 houses. Yes, it's hot off the press.
Very hot, yeah.
Yeah, well, I should have said that earlier, shouldn't I? Okay. No, well, we are winning our ways. So after the meeting, I'll discuss. I had a discussion with Buckenby Parish, but that's not really suitable for this meeting. So
Okay.
things are ongoing, and again, a lot of it is owed to the Councillor David Lister and his work. Was it 60-page report he sent? I'm just reading it, let alone actually writing something on that basis or depth of knowledge. And this is being repeated here. So I warmly would like to see this.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on this report? What do we have to do?
Accepted, yes.
Just to accept it, yeah.
Adopted, isn't it? Yes, adopted.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have to, do we do vote on that?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
okay, so
I like the first that we adopted.
proposed from Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Field. All those in favour? Super, excellent. Thank you very much. Heritage Working Party to receive and note the notes of an inquisitive Heritage Working Party meeting held on the 7th of September. I was there.
Well done, Chairman. Can always count on you.
Just,
I'm just going to ask a question.
Yeah,
about
sure.
the progress of the Bluecoat proposals?
Yes, so I think that's part B really, but yeah, so the blue plaque for Lieutenant Colonel Urquhart was unveiled at the end of the festival, and yeah, as it said there, we did have to approve a slight increase in expenditure, which I think was very worthwhile, because what we've come up with in Colonel Urquhart's memory, I think is quite impressive. and it did allow us to invite members of his family down and to take part in that unveiling process, which I think was very well received, and made a very sort of fitting tribute to a very important man in Thatcham's history. Any other comments on that?
Not on the minutes.
Well, indeed, the minutes were part
Yes.
B, which I
I
seem
mean,
to have wandered
maybe
into.
members of the public who may be interested in joining the Heritage.
It is quite unusual in that it has quite a few members of the public who, well, they're really members of the Historical Society, I think, who aren't councillors. But yeah, we certainly we have put out a call for other members of that group. So they do some very good work. Sorry, Madam Clerk, we're ratifying authority here in Part B.
Yes,
Are we not?
please.
So do we need to vote on that?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. We have all those in favour of ratifying the authority of Councillor Cole and myself. Thank you. That's unanimous. It's all right, don't worry. Nobody voted against. Item 11, Henwick Joint Management Committee to receive and note the minutes. Councillor Cole.
There's no finance items in there.
There's an old banking expression from the days when banks used to actually check that checks were valid, which was words and figures differ. I'm seeing two notes of minutes here. One saying that for the year to 17th May 2022, not quite sure when the year end is, but presumably the 31st of March, that the budget was overall showing a slight underspend. And I've got minutes of the following meeting on 23rd of August saying that there were no major budget issues. I'm seeing that we were charged 45,670 as opposed to £40,000 budget for the year, which.
Clerk.
So the town council's contribution of the 45,600 or whatever it was as part of the JMC's budget, but we only budgeted 40,000. So when the JMC recommended their budget, it was at the 45,600 figure, but we only budgeted 40.
It worries me when Councillor Cole looks puzzled.
I get the reason. I'm just, how did they set a budget at the JMC which exceeded the contribution from this council that we budgeted? Who's in control of this process? Because otherwise, JMC might set a budget for 3 million, and suddenly our contribution is 500,000. There needs to be a connection here, Chair, between them and us. Otherwise, we're on for an unlimited another budget.
Yes, I agree.
That has to be driven by us. It's our budget that we're contributing, and suddenly it's 12% more in a year when, frankly, we are under pressure anyway because inflation's up at 10%.
And I completely agree. An oversight by myself. I don't actually remember personally agreeing to that 45,000, but that's May. I think I would have, if it had been brought to my attention, I would have certainly noticed. But
Is that
yes,
something
I
you
think
can
we need-
raise with them?
yes, well,
As a
we'll
member of that group.
raise it with the chairman, Councillor Brooks, and see what he has to say. But on a slightly happier note, basically we have made that an open meeting of quite an unusual event where public are now allowed to attend. This is something we did many, many years ago under the district council where we, at the district level, when I was on the Newbury District Council, we introduced public speaking to meetings. It's not quite the same as JMC, but I think it's always good to be transparent. But I fully take on board Councillor Hobbs' comments, and we must be much more careful in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe just ask
Something we can note for Councillor Brooks.
Paul Henry.
Okay, moving on. Or do we have to vote on that?
It's just noted, Chairman,
Sorry,
just noting.
just noted. So, so item 12, Thatcham Town Cricket Club. It's another ratifying one. I think this has been had to make a decision on this one, but I think it's certainly in line with all our green credentials. This for the cricket club to install solar panels and storage battery into the scorebox roof and field at Brownsfield. So, so do I have a vote on? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. 13, Community Projects Fund application. Madam Clark, I believe you have some information on this one.
I have, thank you, Chairman. Councillor Ardell-Walter, as you can see, is the applicant for this. It's a new charity, West Berkshire Draughtbusters. He has given me, given apologies for tonight, so he's given me something to read out on his behalf. He says that the website, which has he put on here? Yeah, website is now live. West Berkshire Cost of Living Hub, as well as adult social care teams, will be making referrals to people in Newbury and Thatcham from this week. Citizens Advice Bureau will also be involved. Greenham Trust have donated £2,000. Greenham Parish Council will donate £300, and Newbury Building Society will donate £250. As well as a donation, Draughtbusters will be very grateful if Thatcham Town Council would look out for more potential volunteers. No particular qualifications are needed other than being practical and moderately good at DIY. Training will be provided. Each visit to a home is likely to take less than 2 hours.
What's on that one, Councillor Cole?
I think this is a thunderingly good charity, Chair, and I think
So, do we have a second?
I'm going to make a
Sorry.
comment. I'm going to make a
Councillor
comment.
Mike, yeah.
Thank you. I was a little nervous about this. Hopefully it will be resolved because it is important that houses do have ventilation. And if people who are not expert go around filling up every hole, then there's a risk, particularly if they're gas appliances, but they should be, if they're inspected, they should be ventilation. But there's a risk that it will actually make matters worse in a different dimension. In fact, the regulations have changed. I think it's part of the building regulation changed a few months ago on that. So I just think we could sort of flag that to Councillor Ardell-Walter to ensure that is the case, that people don't seal the houses completely.
Thank you. Yes, we could note that. Thank you. Councillor Jeffrey.
Mr. Chairman, that was a very valid point that Councillor Pike just made, but I would like to second the
Okay.
I would endorse that, but I completely agree with Councillor Pike. It is a concern. We must please give our views that this has to be done carefully.
Yes.
By doing it by volunteers, you may be in danger of seeing all the. I had, for example, a gas fire in my lounge to electric seal up the event, but it's important if you still have that gas fire, actually the events. And
No,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
I
No.
think we have to express our concern that, yes, we're very happy to make the contribution, but we
Councillor Foster.
underline the health and safety.
Yeah, if I just make an observation, I know some of the initial volunteers, and I think Councillor Arderwater was quite careful to choose who should be the initial draftbusters. So, for instance, one of our West Park Screen Exchange committee members, Ken Neal, who is an expert in house insulation, and he's been saying for years that we need to do more. He is one of the draftbusters. So I think they already have volunteers who would police themselves, if you like, to make sure that they don't get other volunteers who don't know some of the basics of what we should and shouldn't do. So I'm certainly there are some good quality people there already who do know what they're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
All those in
well,
favour?
all those in favour? Yeah. Thank you.
I remember that.
Excellent. I knew we'd had a proposer somewhere along the line. Okay, thank you. So moving on to incidents.
You have nothing to add to the report, Chairman, unless any members have any questions?
Just shout as we go through. Oh, Councillor Cole.
Sorry, Chair, just a comment on I think page 3, Boys on Bikes in Lane. This actually came up at a council surgery that myself and you did, Chair. And the police were there, and they said they were aware and they had the so the police have acted on that advice or that report made to them.
Excellent. Sorry, Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I'm glad the council called spoke first, because I was going to make the observation of actually only tonight sent an email before coming to this meeting about that very issue, but also 2 others in Green Lane. I think it's probably appropriate to just mention this in this context right now. The rat was very dangerous. I can remember when I was that age doing exactly the same kind of thing. I remember going in a go-kart down the hill, out straight into a road, and you just did it. And I'm going to say that in the 1950s, one survived it. I'm not sure that in the 2021 necessarily would do the same thing. But the other couple of issues with Green Lane are that there are many incidents, I would say 4 now, we've spoken on different occasions in the last couple of years, about the fact that the 21-hour limit is not merely exceeded in 30 or 21 hours breaking the law, but that people are driving at speeds of 40, 50 miles an hour. To get the boy racers down Green Lane. I don't know what it is about Green Lane that particularly attracts them, but it most definitely does. So I mentioned that. The other issue is that's been actually logged by the town council, and what inspired me to send the email this evening, about 45 minutes before coming to this meeting, is that there's a problem with parking opposite very close. At the moment, I've been able to park there, but unfortunately, there's enough parking that happens there, and it then begins to make it difficult. So those are the issues I've sent off to the highways, and if the police dealt with the first one, another email to the highways not to bother about it.
Yes, thank you for that, Councillor. Yeah, I would agree. I think it concerns me too that because there are vehicles parking right up to that corner, the visibility is poor, and the way some young people use it at night without very much visibility, it's certainly a concern. Do we have any other comments on the incidents? Approval for payments. Receive and consider proposed payments. Just run through them. Again, just shout if you want to stop.
I'm not sure if I'm keeping up.
That's
with
okay.
what I'm front. Can I go to OBS on page 079? Is that in front of that's the moment?
Just
I think
get
it's
it
just coming up.
on.
There it is.
Can I just confirm, I'm assuming this is payment for use of Bluecoat school during the Thatcham festival? Is that correct?
Yes. The reason I'm hesitating is it's part of the agreement, the service level agreement,
Yes.
that we grant them £1,000 each year, and in exchange for that grant, we are permitted use for during the festival.
Got it, got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
At that point,
That's the general.
we then go into meet to cash book 1. Through the chairman, renovation spares invoice 193,229. What is that referred to, please?
Where is that, Councillor
So
Jeffrey?
on page 3082.
Oh, okay. Renovation of spare strip.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, this is not meant to be a test of one's mental knowledge or anything. Perhaps if you
I
can
will.
email it sometime in the next few days.
Usually I can work out what it is,
Yeah,
but
but
I'm not sure on that one.
I tracked it down.
Don't seem to have a lot to go on there.
Yeah. And if it's renovation spare strip of £1.85, I wouldn't worry too much, but use my £100.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Okay, anything more on approval of payments?
Nothing from me, Chairman.
Just approval, Chairman.
Sorry? Oh, just to approve them. Can I have a proposal, please? Secretary, all in favour? Thank you. So reports by town council appointees. First one is me, Friends of Thatcham Library. I guess the news from there is that the building work still hasn't commenced. They're waiting for a project leader, I believe, to be appointed. It would have started by now had they had a project leader, I imagine, because we were expecting to be accommodating some of the library sort of books and materials over the run up to Christmas, but we're not sure when that's commencing now. And so the events that might have happened in the chamber, like the Christmas coffee morning, I think are now back in the library on the 17th. Henwick Management Committee. We have a.
We covered.
Oh, I guess we have. Yeah, good point. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That hand went off.
Kennet Leisure Centre Advisory Committee. I would love to know when that meets, if ever, as I appear to be on it, but I've never been invited to a meeting.
May I suggest that you really have to hound them on this, because when I was chairman of that, our body, it hardly ever met, and it was only through my insistence that we get a date. And I asked that the town clerk pursue them, because we need to push to get.
Yeah, very good point. The Bluecoats.
Yes, I accompanied my councillor, Lourdes Cotton, went to the AGM. The amount of work that these people do to maintain and improve. I underline improve. They're looking at, they're full-time handymen. I don't know how they actually manage it, but it is it's in a good condition now, and they are making it better. I mean, there's a list of about 24 items that they were addressing, small items, but as you can imagine, they accumulate, and they don't use money lightly. They think, well, I can do that. Let's do that instead of paying a contractor. And they are very economic. They are trying to look how to raise funds to modernise the kitchen and the toilet area. If anybody has any ideas. But they've got a new member of the committee, Keith or Kevin, who is willing to do the fundraising for them. In the past, they've had significant amounts of money in from Vallejo and other, I think it was Thames Water, because the roof was falling down. Now that's a really good argument to get money, but oh well, we'd like to change the kitchen and the toilet. It's a harder sell to get.
Yeah.
It's in such good hands, and they are honouring what we call a Wootton, because it was down to as a county councillor, it was really just about to almost fold and collapse, and being one of the probably I think must be the oldest building in Thatcham. It's very well conserving. Not from the church. Which is much of a talk.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it is,
Chairman,
yeah.
so I'm glad to say it has been well looked after, and they are progressing and trying to make even further improvements.
Excellent.
One thing they do ask, is could they use our grounds contract? Could they use that as an umbrella? We could and then emptying the bin for them, which it's one of the things that they find difficult to do. So if, I've just asked the town clerk to investigate
Look into it.
and just let them. But considering the amount of time, effort, money that they've spent in, they give materials free of charge. So it's a small thing to happen. Not too expensive for. I'd be personal.
Okay, thank you, councillor. Yes, and it's a very important landmark in the town and fine facility as well. So it's great that it's in such good hands. The allotment club, councillor Field, anything to report there?
All quiet on that front there. I've got a perfectly friendly relationship with Keith and that. And the understanding is if you need something, you'll let me know. Yeah, you'll let me know.
Yes, they're very happy with their new road.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's nice.
Probably going into inside their sheds for a few months. So.
And bulbs as well. So.
With hot toys.
Yes, we've got some nice bulbs along the boundary. Councillor Cole, Memorial Foundation.
Thank you, Chair. We have gathered all the money from a huge amount of sources. Primarily of course from West Berkshire, the SIL money, and therefore the playground next to the tennis courts will be proceeding.
Excellent. Good news.
And thank you to Thatcham Town Council for its contribution of 2,500, which I think was probably agreed about 10 years ago, but it's not actually 106 money.
Anything else on that one? Or, sorry, councillor Jeffrey.
If I may, I really do think it gets absolutely marvelous news, because let's face it, virtually everything like that happens in Thatcham happens as a result of this council and our work and our funds. And this is one where the Red Trust dug in, went through the system, liaised with West Berkshire Council. And the result is there's going to be another absolute smashing planning work for the opposite for the Thatcham. I think it's just really great news.
Thank you. Parish Hall. Anybody reporting on
I
that?
haven't seen the attend to this.
I was unable to attend the AGM as well, so fortunately, no updates since.
Okay.
There is a meeting coming along soon.
Yeah, we don't have Councillor Boyd for the Cricket Club or Councillor Rice for the Heritage Forum. Councillor Field, Sustainable Communities.
They are currently self-sustaining as far as my involvement. I'm afraid my recent commitments have forbidden me from, inhibited me from engaging as fully as I had intended a few months back when I signed that, but they are on my list to send that note to at some point.
Thank you very much. So that's been complete, I think. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chairman.